Hey guys, I am Phaedra from All Things Phaedra, where I cover the best in cars, travel, and entertainment. And as you can guess, today I'm talking cars. Before I dive into the content, I would love it if you hit that subscribe button so you can come back anytime I have great content like this. Okay, now we're gonna jump right into it. It's kind of hard to tell, but I am here at a baseball field. And the reason I'm here is because what's more American than baseball and Mustangs, even on a blustery day like today? In fact, I came here because I knew nobody would be playing. And here's the real question. This doesn't look like your typical Mustang. This is the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-E Premium. And the real question, the question I had when I started my week in this Mach-E is it really a Mustang? We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you a definitive answer by the end of this video. But before I get into that, let's talk about why you should care about the Mach-E and maybe answer some questions that you don't know about it. It is all electric. So it plugs in, it has no gasoline motor, it runs strictly on electric. So if you're not familiar with electric cars, I've covered a few of them, including some plug-in hybrids that I'd love for you to check out. But this one is special. This one is different. This one is fast. And if you haven't driven an electric car, I always tell people, I encourage you to please go out, get behind the wheel and try it, because they are here to stay. In fact, Ford is committed to electric vehicles. They are investing $22 billion, I said that right, with a B, billion dollars in electrification through 2025 as part of its plan to lead electrification in areas of strength. So they are electrifying their most iconic vehicles, and you may have seen some of them. The Ford F-150, also known as the Lightning, the Mustang, the Transit, known as the E-Transit, and many more to come. Right now, they actually have 8 electrified vehicles in their lineup, and that includes a combination of all-electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. There is so much to talk about with this Mach-E, but I'm going to try and do less talking and more showing. So we're going to start with a walk around. We're going to go inside. I'm going to show you the interior, which is unlike a typical car that's out there in the market. And then we're going to get on the road, because that's where you'll find a real difference in the way this car performs versus other cars in the market. So the first thing you'll notice is that Mustang front and center. The grille looks a little bit different, of course, because there's no engine under there. That's the FRUNK, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. I saw the body referred to as an SUV, but I personally, I don't consider this an SUV. This, to me, is kind of a large hatchback. But when you come around back, this is where I think it has the biggest nod to the Mustang itself. I love those taillights. This car looks awesome at night when it's lit up. Before we go inside, I'm going to show you the FRUNK. And before I do that, I'm going to have to open the door. This is how you open the door. This is really weird, and this is one of those things that you maybe are going to love or you're going to hate, but I think people try to get innovative for the sake of being innovative. Maybe there's some aerodynamic reason to do away with the door handles, but you're going to press this button, pop the door open, and then before we get into the interior, I'm going to pull this lever twice. That's going to unlock the FRUNK. No engine. So this is a place where you could really put anything, store your luggage. It's got larger space back here. This has a cargo divide up front, and you can see it's got a place for cup holders, because believe it or not, you can use this as a cooler. So you can fill it with ice. There's typically a drain down there. You could fill this with ice and you could totally tailgate, except it's not a tail. It's a FRUNK. You could FRUNK gate. Did I just invent that? You could FRUNK gate. We're going to leave the FRUNK and head on back to the trunk, although it's not really a trunk. This is a hatchback. And you've got a pretty good amount of space with the hatchback. There you can see the taillights lit up. So to open this, you can use the key fob. There is also a space down here, and one of the features that this car has is that you can use your phone as a key. Now, I'm not the owner of the vehicle, so I don't have that set up. You can see it's a true hatchback. It's got a detachable cover. And then we've got a pretty good amount of space back here for the cargo space. Under here, we've got a charging cord, and then we have an air pump. And you'll notice that this piece right here is not solid, and that is because you have the ability to lift it up to a higher platform. And the reason you would want to do that is if you're going to fold the seats flat. And I'll show you how much space you have when you fold the seats flat. It's a 60-40 split. And with both seats folded down, you can see that you have a pretty good amount of cargo space back here. Both seats up, it's a 60-40 split. You get a pretty good idea of what the back seat looks like. And both of the seats are back to a fairly normal place. And as you can see, I've got a pretty good amount of leg room. Now, I like to remind people I'm 5'3" on a good day. So I'm pretty short, but I feel like there's a pretty good amount of space between my knees and the seat in front of me. For your backseat passengers, you don't have a lot of amenities, but you do have these vents back here. That doesn't go without saying because not all cars have that. And you do have some USB connections. It's pretty basic back here. Then right here in the center, you've got a console. We'll bring this down. We've got some cup holders right here. So you could easily fit 3 people comfortably back here. And the great thing is that there is no hump on the floor here. So you've got good foot space right there in the middle. Driver's seat, again, here are these funky doors, but this is where it gets interesting. I'm going to give you a quick glimpse of what the dashboard looks like so you can see what I'm seeing as we take this out on the road. All right, we're behind the wheel. I'm going to go ahead and start it up, and it's going to automatically move me back to my saved position. And you'll see that we've got a lot going on up here. So what you're looking at right here is a 10.2-inch cluster. It's called an informational cluster screen. And you'll see a lot of different information up here, including the range. So right now the range is at 203 miles, 98% charging. So why is that not higher? Well, part of that is because it depends on how you drive. So once you go electric, you'll learn how to conserve your battery life. And a lot of that comes with climate and driving style. And I'll show you how you measure that. We also have a 15.5-inch display right here in the middle. This is a touchscreen display. And it's got so much on here. I could do a whole video just on everything that's on here. So I'll try and breeze through the highlights. What you're seeing here are 3 different drive modes: Whisper, Engage, Unbridled. Can you guess which one I've been driving most of the time? You got it, Unbridled. We also have some camera options. It really has this great stitched camera. Like, you can't see any seams with the camera stitching. So it's got a really nice camera system. I'm really impressed with that. Oh, active park assist. Huh, I didn't try that. Let's try that. Okay. Ooh, this is cool. All right. Shift to N. Release brake. And hold park button. Oh, this is making me nervous. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Hands are off the wheel, guys. However, I would have just taken out a few cars. All right, here we go. Okay, this is so weird. My hands are not, I swear to God, hands are not on the wheel. And we are backing up into a space. Again, not very well, but finished. Okay, I had to hold this park button the whole time, and then it put it in park. Okay, so we both learned something new. Has options in here, like this is where you'll find your traction control and your auto hold, which are things that normally you would see little buttons for in the dash, and they aren't. You can create your own personal profile so it remembers exactly who you are, link it to your phone or to your key fob. But here's some other cool things, like we've got this notes section. And again, this is one of those things where I think they thought, hey, we've got this really big screen, what can we do with it? So here's what you can do with this. I was playing around with this earlier so you can see my skills. Big purple man. Now, what do you guys think? You think I should save it for the next person that has this car? Let's save it. Yeah. So now when we go to saved, someone's going to see that. You know what? I'm going to leave it. But is it practical to use? Now, obviously, I don't think you can use this while driving. Is it really practical? I guess they figure you've got the space, maybe do something with it. It's got simple selections like tire pressure, so you can see what your tire pressure is. And I really love this. The manual is online, but they do such a good job with the driver's manual. So you can go through like a regular driver's manual, but then they have visual search. So you can say, what is this button for on the steering wheel? And it takes you directly to that. Let's say you want to see, what is this up front? It tells you everything that you need to know about the front luggage compartment, the FRUNK, how to open it, how it's configured, and what you can do with it. Now we're going to come back to this big giant screen in a minute. We're going to come back to this screen specifically, but I want to show you a little bit of the details on the dashboard. So it's got this gray fabric cover here, and it's got this sort of carbon fiber looking material here. It's got a stitched portion on the dashboard and on the doors, and it's got perforated seats. And I have to say that these seats, they don't look that impressive, but they, at least from a driver's perspective, are so comfortable on my back. Now, my son said he thought they were very uncomfortable, so maybe we're just talking about small people like them. If we explore down here, again, this is pretty bare bones. We've got some USB connections, just a place to put stuff. This has a wireless charger. It's been a little flaky with my phone. Like it would start to charge and then it would stop charging and then it would start to charge. But honestly, I've been having issues with wireless chargers in cars. So I'm starting to think maybe it's my phone and not the wireless charger. Some cup holders. This is the button that I used for parking. Your hazards, your parking brake. It is an electronic parking brake. I don't love this knob shifter. I'm just not a fan of it, but you get used to it. Then we have this armrest right here that isn't really a true console. It's just there for your arm. It lifts up. You've got some empty space down here where I've stored my magical GoPro. And then if you can see it, I don't know if you can, there is a 12-volt port down here. Then down under here, if you can see that, can you see that? There is some extra space down here. If you have a small purse or a wallet, you can put that there and it's out of sight. And I love cars that are able to offer that. That is usually comes compliments of the electronic transmission, so you don't need as much space. So pretty basic up here. My only thing is this little section right here. It looks like it should light up or it has some sort of display on it, and I can't figure out what it's for. We've got our light controls over here and the steering wheel with that Mustang. Now here's another kind of weird thing that will throw you when you first get into the vehicle. So here are all your normal door controls and mirror controls, but look at this. You see that right there? That is how you open the door. I don't really mind it. Okay, now the time has come. I've showed you the basics of the exterior, of the interior. But what really matters with this car is how it drives. And I also want to show you some drive modes that are specific to electric vehicles. Let's see if we can put this to the test. So the first thing I want you to notice is the sound. Listen. Do you hear anything? Well, no. The car is on. I have the climate off. We're going to start driving. And I want to see if you can hear any noise. There is a slight electric hum. And when you brake, You usually hear a little bit of a whine. I actually love that sound. So we're going to go a little bit more. Again, no engine sound. What we're hearing is just tire noise. And then we are going to turn on this option right here called propulsion sound. And what the propulsion sound does is it enhances the driving experience. So it's for people that feel like they need that sound either for themselves or for their ego so that others can hear. So I want to see if you can hear the sound now. It just has kind of a low rumble to it. It's not obnoxious, but just a little bit of a sound if that's something that you need. The other option on this screen that I want to show you is what's called one pedal drive. And this is a matter of preference, and it really takes some getting used to. So down here on the floor, in case you haven't noticed before, you still have two pedals. You have the brake, and then you have the accelerator. Not a gas pedal, it's an accelerator. But if you call it a gas pedal, I won't be mad. And what one pedal driving does, so without one pedal driving, you're just driving normal. You hit the accelerator and then you hit the brake. With one pedal driving, everything is controlled with your foot. So here's what I want to show you. I'm moving, and then when I want to stop, I just slowly release from the accelerator and the car comes to a complete stop. So let me show you up here. My foot is on the accelerator, and then as I slowly lift it off the accelerator, it comes to a complete stop. Now what happens if I need to stop short? It does stop pretty quickly, but you could still use the brake if you needed to for a quick stop. Now what I really want to show you is the acceleration, and we're going to do it at a low speed. But don't worry, because you'll really get a sense of how quickly this car moves. And the reason it moves so fast is this has an extended range battery, which not only gives it further range, but it increases the horsepower. So this little guy has 346 horsepower. And more importantly, it has 428 pound-feet of torque. In fact, this vehicle can go from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds. Is that the fastest? No, you can go up to the GT Performance, go 0 to 60 in about 3.5. I don't need that, but again, this goes back to, is this a true Mustang? Well, you have to drive it to really decide that. I did mention that is not the ideal way to drive if you want to conserve your power. So when you're driving electric, it's all about conserving power, especially if you know you've got a long haul and you need to extend that battery as long as possible, because that range is going to depend on your personal driving. How hard and how fast you're accelerating, how much you're driving, how much braking you're doing, which gives you regenerative energy for the battery, and also how much you're using your climate. So the one thing that you'll find in all electric cars are heated seats, heated steering wheels, because these things help keep you warm in the car while you keep your climate off, because the climate is what's going to use up a lot of your power. If you look at this option, which is how exactly am I using my energy? You'll see 29% for climate use, 29% for driving, 29% for accessories. So that could be like CarPlay, iPhone, things like that, lights. How is my driving? Acceleration, deceleration, and speed. And then you can not only look at your current trip, but you can compare it to other trips. I know for many people, this becomes like a daily competition to see how well you can do, how low you can get that percentage down. My husband used to drive an electric car, and I was always freezing in it because he didn't want to expend the energy. So here's the real question that I said I would answer. Is it really a Mustang? I have to say at the start of the week, I wasn't convinced. I thought, this doesn't say Mustang. This doesn't say big, fast performance car. But by the end of the week, I wasn't afraid to use that accelerator, and I was absolutely blown away by the driving performance of this car. The handling, the steering, the acceleration. and the overall responsiveness on the road. It's pretty darn amazing. So now let's talk price. The Ford Mustang Mach-E comes in several trim levels. And what I mean by trim, because not everybody knows that terminology, it means the different options that are included in the different models, the different versions, the different steps of the vehicle. So the entry-level trim level is going to be the Select, and the Select starts at $43,895. Seems like a hefty price tag, but remember, with every electric vehicle that you buy, regardless of the trim, you are eligible for the federal tax credit of $7,500. That's only for electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. You can spec this out all the way up to what they're calling the GT or even the GT Performance, and that will top out at over $61,000. So how is the pricing for the premium? Well, the premium has a base price of $49,700. It has $5,400 worth of options. So a $400 upcharge for the paint and a $5,000 upcharge for a usable extended range battery. What that means is you can drive further and you can drive faster. So if you are a performance lover, you're probably going to want to factor in that $5,000 upgrade for your vehicle. So what did I love the most about the Mach-E? Well, it's the simple things. I love that the plug doesn't have a cap. You just open up the flap and you plug it in and you're good to go. I love that it has fantastic range. So up to 300 miles, that's going to take you pretty far without needing a charge. It's got tons of torque. It's super fun to drive, and it's got a FRUNK. And even if you don't like the FRUNK, it's fun to say. Handles well at high speeds, and it is an IIHS top safety pick. That's really important to me. So what didn't I like about it? Well, this is kind of my complaint with all electric vehicles. You get inside and it's kind of bare bones. And I think that's what they're going for. They're going for clean lines and a clean aesthetic. But I feel like they're missing some of the luxury feels. I think that car companies think that just because you want to be fuel efficient, reduce your carbon footprint, it doesn't mean you don't want the bells and whistles. It doesn't mean you don't want luxury inside. So I would like to see the interior just a little bit upgraded in terms of quality of materials. I also don't love that everything is controlled on that iPad. And I know it's not an iPad, but please just let me call it an iPad. Everything's controlled on the iPad. I think that's a trend that we're going to see more and more in vehicles. I think that's just a learning curve. But sometimes it's a little bit awkward because I'm used to the tactile feeling of buttons. And finally, that wireless charging pad causing me some issues. But again, that could be my phone and not the car. Overall, I am super impressed with this Mach-E, mainly because of the drive. So is it a real Mustang? You better believe it is. Thanks for joining me on this less than spectacular scenery. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you learned something about the Mach-E that maybe you didn't know, and maybe now you'll be willing to check it out. If there's a car you'd like to see me cover, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get behind the wheel of it. Until then, see you guys.